Insecurity and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
APC congresses to hold despite opposition from factions, says Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State. And the Nigerian military says Abu Musab al-Barnawi, leader of Islamic State group ISWAP, is dead. This is Plus Politics, and I am Mary Anna Cole. Soon, in fact, tomorrow, despite the conflict within the party. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State has stated that the venture would hold as scheduled, notwithstanding a protest by the Joint Stakeholders Forum led by Senators Ibrahim Shekarau and Barau Jibril, along with 4 other members of the House of Representatives from his state. In readiness for the venture, a former Borno State Governor Ali Modu Sheriff, who is aspiring for the national chairmanship of the party, has enjoined members to go out in their numbers to elect leaders of their choice in Saturday's state congresses. Well, joining us to analyze that is Biodun Shomi and Babashola Adebuyi, both are political analysts. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you
All right.
for inviting us.
All right. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Shomi. It's interesting. The first questionable thing, about the congresses in itself is that.
Well, it's very important for the APC to have the state congresses. One of the major problems they had initially when they were choosing delegates is the fact that they had parallel congresses earlier on in some states. And therefore, that led to mutual suspicion. One faction suspecting the other faction. Both factions are jostling to reposition themselves in order that they can have an advantage over the other. So part of the strategy of managing, in my view, managing the crisis within the APC currently is to ensure that the list of all those to conduct the congresses are actually kept secret to avoid mutual suspicion or accusation against the officials so that they don't end up finding themselves in another controversial situation. But that much said, it only tells a lot about the internal party democracy. You would expect that a ruling party like APC would be able to have its own congresses freely without all these cat and mouse game going on in the country. It underlines, the desperation for power, by different actors in the political party. So therefore, whichever way it is, the congresses must hold, INEC must observe them, and then the leadership of the parties must emerge.
Okay. Mr. Adebuyi, James Akpanu-Doidege, the spokesperson of the party, was quoted to say that the party expected bickering to be nipped in the bud and that the party would move towards the 2023 elections as a unit. Now, they're saying that as a result of this committee that has been inaugurated, they're hoping that all the bickering and the infighting would be nipped in the bud. And they're saying that that's why, in his words, these people who have been nominated or rather elected to be part of the committee have been fully on these committees. How?
So that means there is nothing the political party or any political party will do to satisfy everybody. We need to remember that the convention and the Congress is the beginning of electionary process against 2023. So everyone who has aspiration for any position will definitely look out for the person who to support. However, a Congress will be coming up tomorrow across all the states, all the 36 states. Up to yesterday night, even up to this afternoon, which I'm not even sure of, committee for each state Congress, for each state, has not been announced. And if committee has not been announced, is that a sign of failure, or there is a plan going on how to maneuver the Congress so that it will suit a particular candidate or the other? So for now, I believe I expected APC to have gone beyond this level, but it has already shown the way they are ruling the country is also the way they are also paddling their own political party.
Back to you, Mr. Shomi. We see that in Kanu, and especially in my opening, I did mention that Dogwa is kicking against Shakarau and has declared loyalty to Governor Ganduje to belong.
There are other ways of determining that. One is a level of involvement of all stakeholders in the party, particularly the membership of the party. Are they allowed to exercise their right? Are they given opportunity to do so in terms of selecting, electing their leaders? The other angle to it is the Chinese model of it, where you do a form of selection and then you ask for delegate ratification of those ones. So, which I think is what Ganduje is talking about, that, okay, look, we're going to have to return all the people in order to manage the crisis within the party, and then ask delegates to ratify. So that is what Ganduje is trying to do in Kano. So in terms of APC, whether they're doing selection process or they're doing ratification or consent kick against it, then the whole thing will be open to question the legitimacy of it, because otherwise it will be a solution imposed by the leadership in Kano.
Babashola, the candidate in the APC in Edo State has called on the Malaibuni leadership of the party at the national to stop the state from imminent political annihilation, saying that another crisis seems to be brewing within the party based on reported plans to impose state executives in tomorrow's Congress. The state is asking the national leader to deal with. So again, how do these kinds of problems, or how will these kinds of problems be, dealt with before tomorrow? Because we're less than 24 hours to tomorrow. Can any magic wand
can satisfy every candidate? However, if there is going to be anything that will happen between today and tomorrow, then there must be negotiation between all the people jostling for positions. In other words, there must have been an agreement among all of them. The faction A faction, B faction, C faction, depending on the number of factions in that political party. That is the only way that can work. And they all agree on who to be the chairman for one faction, who to be the vice chairman, who to be the secretary across all the factions. And once they are able to do that, and everybody agrees to that, there will be peace. But if that has not been done, between now and before now, I doubt if that will be done. It's now preparing for 2023. So everyone is now looking for opportunity to grab his own ticket against 2023 with
after this congresses. Let's not forget, yesterday we heard that there was a merger of sorts with smaller parties, and this was spearheaded by Kingsley Moghalu. Don't forget, we also have the third force, who we still do not know what they're about and if they're going to become a political party. But do we see mass movements again as a result of tomorrow's congresses?
It is not impossible, but for mass movement, it depends on who is moving out of APC. If the person is a very strong political person, however, moving to a political party is just an assurance being given to him in that other party of being recognized. Because something I've realized about most politicians is, number one, they seek power, fame, and recognition. And once they're able to get any or all of these two in any of the political party, then they are fine with it. So if there is going to be any mass movement tomorrow, maybe to APC, maybe to PDP, maybe to another political party, it all depends on the other political party that welcoming them, that is ready to compromise its own structure.
Stakes that the opposition, which PDP now is the opposition, but then of course when the APC started off, they did promise that the internal democracies and the politics within the party would be way better for those who came onto their side of the divide. But we seem to see a lot of similarities between the two major political parties, and it makes me really wonder why they keep crisscrossing from party A to party B.
You said the nature of political parties is so that it's not only Nigeria, it's worldwide. They make promises which the electorates are expected to hold them onto, but in the next election. But more in Nigeria, it is more common that many these issues without showing any form of remorse, and they think it's okay. You just go to the next election, again, you promise. Whether you are in opposition or you are the ruling party, the approach has always been the same, because all the political parties in Nigeria are not ideologically oriented. This is the major problem which we have. Whereas it is less in countries where you have ideological political parties.
Let's come to Lagos. In September of 2021, earlier this year, when they had congresses, there were parallel congresses here in Lagos State, just like we had in River State. Now, as the party gears up for tomorrow, there have also been speculations that there might still be parallel congresses because the infightings within the party here in Lagos State has not been addressed. With all those...
the so-called talk of factionalization. But eventually, it was the faction led by Tunde Balogun, by the Tinubu faction, that the national things tend to happen. At the end of tomorrow, we're going to have every election or a selection of candidates to rule the party. So this is the problem. We are likely going to see people kicking against the outcome in Lagos.
We haven't also felt, a change of sorts in the way things have been done. Should Nigerians be looking elsewhere? Don't forget, Professor Tahiru Jega, former INEC boss, had come
before election. So I believe looking elsewhere might not even solve the problem. It's not about the party, it's about the individual. Just like we made mention the other time, I can promise you everything, because I believe that is what you want to hear for you to vote for me. So what Nigerians need to look for is to look out for the integrity of the people who are jostling for one position or the other against next election, and vote for that person. It should not be about popularity. It should not be about the wealth of that person. It should not be about the influence of that person, but about what they believe that person can deliver in order to move this country forward. So it is not about looking elsewhere. It's about looking for the right candidates that fits that position that we are expecting them to occupy in the next election. Either APC, PDP, ADC, YPP, it depends on the individual being elected to occupy that position and not the party. But integrity is key. Antecedent is key.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Showmi, just to add to what he said, can we find the integrity he's making reference to? Can we find the individuals that he's referring to in any other political party? Or are these the same kinds of people who are running in the circles of all the political parties that we have in the country. And let's not forget that these individuals are from us. They are Nigerians. They're not from...
In the country. The problem is this: will they be able to have access to political power? That is the major problem, because those who reasons why I disagree with those who are suggesting that leadership alone is a problem. Leadership alone is not the problem. The structure is also the problem, because when you create a situation where you need millions, you must be a billionaire to be able to form a political party, then you've already created a barrier, towards integrity, having candidates with integrity, with honor, to attain position of leadership. Because nobody will form a political party with billions and then hand it over to someone else. That is a problem which I think we face in the country.
Well, I want to say thank you, Babashola Adegbuyi, Shegu Shoumi, both our political analysts. Thank you for being part of this conversation. We'll watch out and see what plays out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to...
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
Nigeria's military has announced the deaths of Abu Musab al-Barnawi, the head of West African branch of the Islamic State group. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, stated that he is dead and remains dead, not giving additional details. Now, ISWAP has not commented. Army staff or defense staff said it. I'd like to quote him directly. He says, "I can authoritatively confirm to you that Abu Musab is dead. As simple as that. He's dead and remains dead." Now, this isn't the first time that we're hearing from the army that a leader of either Boko Haram or a terrorist group has been killed. And then in a few months, we see the same person, and we see the same person again and again. So it makes us really wonder if we should hold on to this particular statement by Mr. Rabo, or should we be a bit more critical because there's been a precedence?
Well, the precedence was not with this particular person. That was with Boko Haram. And, Boko Haram, I personally know that they've had a change of leadership, and the change had been with the same person, the son of Yusuf, the original founder of Boko Haram, had I think there was a fight and he died. And of course, if the Chief of Defense Staff had come out to say that, yes, he's dead this time, then I think he's dead. And what I want to use in confirming it will be the reaction of IS, that's Islamic State. Excuse
but
me.
they seem not to have commented so far. They seem to be silent.
Yeah.
Let's go on. Now that the army has been able to get, this person, everybody's wondering what should be the next line of action. We're hearing that there have been loads of these people surrendering to the army. We know that this has been happening, even though those were mostly Boko Haram members and some bandits. But we're hearing that more and more of these people are surrendering. Is this a sign that the war is going to be won?
Because we have the two heads of the two factions. ISWAP leader is dead, Boko Haram leader is dead, and I think if the military strategize very well, this is the last time to make the last push and then get this war over with. Because as long as these two leaders are out of the way, I think it's an opportunity for our military to go ahead and do what they have to do.
Now, there are questions that have been asked across boards, and I'm talking about for every country that has had to fight or deal with the issue of terrorism. So does killing the head of a terror organization mean that you have diminished their power, or that you can put an end to that terrorist group? Or is it a tentacle kind of situation, or a hydra-headed monster where you cut one and another grows, from where you cut it?
Okay, it's a tentacle kind of situation. It's a tentacle type of situation in the sense that if a leader of a terrorist group has been killed or died, it weakens the body, but it does not eliminate the whole idea. That's why till today we have Al-Qaeda. Although the leader of Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden, is gone, but we have him. We have ISIS, that's Islamic State, headed by Baghdadi. And Baghdadi is also dead, but IS remains. So we can also have the leaders of Boko Haram and ISWAP die, but we will still have that organization. Because remember, this is an ideological war. It's an ideological fight where the people who are fighting this, his belief system and end to it. Of course, we are having a lot of people surrendering. I think that's a very good sign too.
Of these guys, not just to those areas.
I think the military have to redouble its effort by pushing these people out of the country. We have to push them out of the country. There are many facts to show that you have them outside Zamfara, Katsina, and of course, Kaduna. I think re-strategizing. I believe that the military is really strategizing, but there should be a push, a final push in dealing with this particular situation.
Now, killing these men is not enough, as we have already discussed, in the course of this conversation. But how about looking at the reasons why these groups have been growing in their leaps and bounds? Let's not forget, young people are being introduced to these sleeper cell groups every single day, and the radicalization process keeps on. It's a gift that keeps giving, unfortunately. What do we do to really deal with the young people in our society so that they do not find these causes as alluring as they find it? Let's not forget, it's not just in that we avoid the effects.
What we are seeing right now are just symptoms. They are basic symptoms. And if you don't deal with those root causes, and the root causes are simple, everybody knows them. Unemployment, poverty, the lack of education, all kinds of things that people suffering find for greener pastures. Why can't we do something for them here? You know, with all the monies that we hear has been stolen and recovered, why can't we create something for them? You know, you have to deal with these fundamental issues. If you don't deal with these fundamental issues, just pursuing Boko Haram or ISWAP fighters is just the surface. We are scratching it. We have crow on our hands and we are putting balm on it. What we need to do is to drink the right medicine that will root it out from the inside. So I think it's very important.
But that responsibility surely falls on the plate of our government, and I'm not just talking about the federal government, I'm talking about government at all levels. And this is a failure, of course, on their part. So looking at what we have spoken of now, the fact that government has failed, and looking at how they're dealing with the issue right now, does it show that they're ready to put an end to this? Because you see, what we're hearing in the news right now, the biggest headlines are that a certain political party is about to have its Congress. Another political party is having infighting as to where they can zone the... But the thing that's making our headlines...
The other day I was seeing a video where somebody of a particular party was giving out cash. We have to face this. And the president have that opportunity, like I said, to do it because it is out of his hands now. The politicians are gone. They are gone. They've left him to go and do what...
Years to effect a change. He did not.
Country, not only Nigeria, has tremendous powers. And the one in Nigeria has might to use.
So it means this is a choice that the president has, and he would choose not to, or he would choose to. So it means that it lies within his purview. But he has chosen not to do this in 6 years that he's been in office. And then one day, by the stroke of luck, or maybe an angel from heaven, all of those countries, they seem to be having their fair share. But they all have homegrown methods of dealing with this issue, and they seem to be having an upper hand, except a few countries that also have issues with, you know, governance and the likes of it. I'm wondering, because our president is seemingly... used to be, I think he still is, the head of ECOWAS, and he's always sending an envoy to these countries. You know, they have...
Because when you look at it, look from Mali all the way down to Cameroon, it's the same thing, you know. Remember, there was a coup in Mali. And of course, ECOWAS wanted the people in Mali to hand over to a democratic government. They have not done it till today. Guinea has a coup. And then, of course, they wanted ECOWAS, and then, of course, African Union wanted them to do that, the same thing. They have not done it till today. Chad is under military regime right now. Although they say that military regimes are very, very unpopular, but these countries have stuck to it. And, of course, ECOWAS will not be able to change it. And for many at home, you know. So it is dangerous. So we have to be very, very careful when we're dealing with this, because if you look at the long run, these are things that these are bigger threats that are facing the whole Sahel region, you know, and we have to be careful.
All right. Well, Dennis Amakere is former Deputy Director, Assistant Director of the Department of State Services, and we want to appreciate you for being part of the conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll bring you quickly the highlights of this week and all the interesting conversations we have had from Monday up until yesterday. But before then, I'd like to say thank you, and I hope you have a great weekend. I am Mary Aniko.
The kidnap market took the boom because the risk implication in kidnapping, Mary Ann, is very low compared to the risk implication in robbery. So
members of this political class sold their souls to greed and voracious accumulation. So I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? We can write the Constitution as much as we want, but if these people, the politicals that we have now, and those who work the Constitution, they will always find a way of bastardizing it. You'll be shocked if one goes into itemizing some of the laws we have in this jurisdiction that have been made so functionally useless because of the ingenuity of the Nigerian political class at making any form of legislation or any form of rule nonsensical when it comes to, perverting it.
The current Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Mr. Odumosi, I hope I got the pronunciation right,
yes,
has a very unadmirable history of disregarding the rule of law. The man seems disconnected from democracy. He cannot appreciate why citizens should express themselves. He cannot understand why Nigerians should be aggrieved, why Lagosians should come out to express their opinion on issues of concern. And he has consistently, over time, clamped down on peaceful protesters, assaulted journalists, led invasion of protest venues, peaceful protest venues, and he continues to serve the corrupt elite without any regard for human rights, without any regard for democracy, without any regard to his statutory responsibilities. But to your question, we need to say clearly and emphatically, there is nothing under the Constitution. There is not
what Moghalu talks about, the merging of 6 political parties. There are a few questions we are going to ask ourselves. Is it ideated just to wrest power? Are we talking, is it phallocentric or altruistic reasons? Do we have analogousness of ideologies? Because even if you merge and eventually you succeed, which is actually a tall order, but if you merge and eventually you succeed, at the end of the day, we'll still be back to where we are today, or even worse. But talking of success first, let us also not forget, nothing tried, nothing gained. That is one. 2, I think they are also exploiting the infamy of the present administration. And also don't forget that these measures we are talking about, we are only seeing the likes of Moghalu and co. These are parties that will be populated by a lot of disgruntled people in the PDP and in the APC.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Good day, all. My good old Adebowale after his late mother. Debo, the short form of Adebowale, glued on me like tick on cattle since 1981, when the quest for true Africanism led me to drop Festus as fit for my certificates only. My hands were long enough to touch the pinna of my hair at 6 years old, and I was admitted to 7-day Adventist Primary School, Ile-Ife. Those days were full of adventures. I remember I once scored 0 out of 3 in a difficult simple proportion test in Primary 4. I tore both sides of the exercise book thinking my failure will not be noticed. My mother counted the 20 leaves, a very big library containing so many novels, Enid Blyton's Adventure of the Famous 5 series, Tintin, Kokuba Boni, Nikata series, James Ali Chase series, Sidney Sheldon, and Robert Ludlum novels. I filled the gap with Elizabeth Bradford Taylor, Dennis Robbins, and Mills and Boone series. In all, I was able to combine effortlessly social activities with my academic pursuit. Right On magazine, Don Cornelius, and the Soul Train gave us the lyrics to our favorite songs and the dance steps, mostly American. Kool and the Gang, Everly Champion King, The Whispers, Raphael Cameron, Barry White, Gregory Isaac, UB40, George Washington Jr., and a host of others. We had a driven desire to go to disco in America and smell the fragrance of Paris. So young, naive, and suave was I. How can I forget so soon my university days and exploits in Ilorin? I joined the Keguys Club and led the Man-O-War Club as Commander-in-Chief without any negative impact on my studies. The Keguys Club took me to several institutions in Nigeria where I developed cherished bonds of friendship